In the first month of 2026, I've made about 6 figures in profit trading crypto meme coins on completely new wallets, no copy traders or hyping up a live stream to buy my coins, no bundling, rugging, or whatever bullshit or free bailout that anyone else with an audience needs to rely on. I actually have a losing win rate, and on this one profile, I didn't even bother for trading half the month, yet I outperformed almost every single degenerate out there, probably on just this one profile, as a retail trader in a market where 99.6% of wallets, not traders, wallets, are even profitable. This is what made me my first $1 million as a teenager. But if I lost everything, how exactly would I make my first 100K in 2026? And I'm going to tell you right now, the answer to this question is always going to change. A lot of the concepts from my videos last year are always going to be applicable, but in terms of specific strategy, the market is always changing, it's always evolving, and edge is always going to decay. You can't stick to one thing forever, right? So in this video, I'm gonna give you an up-to-date full breakdown with my current specific strategy, my setup, examples, and exactly how I'd make that first 100K trading meme coins right now if I lost it all in 2026. Let's get into it. So the first thing, we're always gonna start with the setup. The best trading terminal you can use for the start of 2026 is gonna be Axiom Pro. If you've seen my previous videos, you probably hear me talk about this all the time, but I do it for a reason. The UI is very simple, it's easy on the eyes, and it has every single basic and advanced tool that you need. To sign up, just click on the Axiom link in the description down below, and you'll get a free permanent 10% discount on all trading fees that you use forever. You can sign up with either your Gmail or your Phantom wallet, and once you're there, it should look something like this. Now for you, it's probably gonna look super unfiltered. You're gonna be seeing a million different coins spawning everywhere, just very overwhelming. And you are not gonna touch 99.999% of those coins with a 10-foot stick, right? So we're gonna try to clean this up with some filters. For the new pair section, this is gonna be where every single new coin is gonna spawn, $11,000 minimum market cap, and 0.1 global fees paid. For the middle, it's gonna be minimum 8,000 market cap and 0.5 fees paid. And for the migrated section, this is for coins that are able to hit a certain market cap. I do $10,000 minimum market cap and a 3.5 global fees paid in Sol. I'm gonna hit apply all, and your terminal should now look a little bit cleaner. Now, you're also not going to touch 99% of these with a 10-foot stick, but it's much cleaner now, right? And you're only going to see coins that are getting any sort of activity whatsoever. So ones that are worth even looking at, and we'll get into how to actually trade those soon. But first, let's finish the setup. Next, trading fees. These actually don't really matter much. Axiom is already by default the fastest terminal of 2026, so you really don't need to play with these much. For the slippage, I would do 30 or 40, whatever's comfortable. For the priority, you can keep it 0 and it'll default. If you want to perhaps try and snipe something, if you know something is coming, maybe you could do 0.01, 2, 3, whatever. Now, Mev mode used to be important. Not really so. Mevs aren't really a thing anymore. You can keep it off if you want to pay a little bit less in fees. You can keep it off if you want to pay a little bit less in fees with the small risk of maybe getting sandwiched on a trade. And just like that, we're all set up. And whatever quick buy you are comfortable with at the top right here. I'm gonna keep it at 3 for now. But anyone can click a couple of buttons for an organized terminal, right? It's gonna make your life a lot easier, but it's not gonna make you profitable. And this is where my strategy comes in. In terms of execution, it's gonna come down to 3 things. Number 1, narrative. Number 2, entry. And number 3, sizing. In that specific order. It seems so simple, and it really is, right? The market is going to be generous towards you if you abide by these principles. The problem is there will be times on any system where you just inevitably lose, right? You're going to slip up, you're going to round trip, and those moments will eat you alive, because the secret is there's no such thing as a magic indicator or formula or filter or whatever you can always win with in any tradable market. This 3-part system is what worked best for me, and what I know is going to set the absolute best foundation for any beginner. The first thing, actually figuring out what coin to buy among all these by reading the coin's narrative, the story that the coin is telling and the attention that it captures, because the value in all these coins are memetics, right? The concept of attention and influence inflating or making up the value of an asset. I'm going to tell you right now, almost every single meme coin on planet Earth will eventually go to 0. I don't care who's behind it. I don't care what community they have. It doesn't matter. What actually matters is how much money you can actually extract out of that coin before it blows up in your face, right? And the core of all that is how you interpret the coin's narrative. What story is the coin telling that you think will get attention? An example of this trade, I turned $500 into over 21,000 on, which I did have a moon bag in. I round tripped, but it's whatever. But olive oil, right? If I click to whatever social media or Twitter account is attached to this coin, I can see that this is a coin of an extremely viral financial meme right now of olive oil outperforming as an asset. With majors and crypto going to zero, with everything else sending right now, metals, stocks, well, actually, metals are nuking right now too. But a story that I had a feeling would grab attention after seeing coins about similar memes on funny asset classes that were going to millions during this time too, like Copper Inu. This skill of being able to understand narratives is the biggest differentiator between someone who's profitable and who's not. You can watch any single one of my videos and I will always have some kind of iteration of this take because it's true, right? My 5-year-old cousin could go into filters. He could bang his head on the buy button on anytime a coin comes up with X amount of volume or X amount of market cap or whatever, right? Narrative is the reason the average person, people like you and me, can even make money in this market at all because not everyone is interpreting the story a coin is telling the same way. And that allows it to go up or down. And that's how every market has worked since existence. Now, if you're a beginner, you're probably not going to be good at this, right? You're not going to be great at reading narratives right away. Best way you can get better at this skill is by thinking in trends and originality. And most importantly, seeing how well certain trends have done in the past and what's doing well right now. I gave a perfect example with olive oil. We saw pretty much every commodity on planet Earth hitting price discovery, gold, silver, copper, platinum, and that sort of trend caught its way into crypto. And that's why we have coins like Copper Inu here that was able to hit over a $20 million market cap at its current peak. An influencer pushing a meme about a copper dog. So understanding that same mindset, what is something that I'm going to be paying attention to? If I know it's doing well, it's not rocket science, this is not a trick question, coins about meme-like commodities. It's right in front of me, it's showing me outperformance. This coin running is telling me this is the current trend. This is what you should be looking out for. Now that's where the aspect of originality comes in. Copper Inu, a main driving force of this narrative is that it's not just a copper dog. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard about this meme in my life before I found this coin, but a driving narrative is that this guy is pushing it, Himgaria. And if you don't know who he is, he's a crypto KOL, an influencer with probably some of the most pull in the entire space. Someone who publicly made 8 figures off Farcoin is currently spearheading his entire coin. Let's say, and I know this is all hindsight, obviously it's very easy to say this right now, but this is just so you can get a better understanding of what I'm really talking about here. So let's say you saw this at a lower market cap, let's say a few mil. You have a leading overarching trend at the moment, crypto underperforming compared to stocks and commodities, and you have someone who's made public 8-figure calls and trades, publicly shilling, pushing, doing whatever he can to raise the price of this one coin that falls into that trend. Considering that information, that narrative that you've just crafted in your head, you can make the assumption that one of the most influential people in crypto right now can probably pool more capital and bring enough attention to a coin to raise it from a, let's say, $4 million price point. That is the essence of analyzing a narrative by trying to grasp as much information you can about the coin as possible. Hit the search bar on Twitter, check out the community, see who's behind it, check out the website, whatever you can grasp about it, and then trying to create a story. And to really simplify things, just try to look for originality. That focus on narrative, the understanding of trends and originality, is why in my personal mentorship, Fortune Inner Circle, there's not a million fucking coins being called every single day. Once again, I go into the market not wanting to trade. And suddenly, when something finally catches my eye, you get shit like this. A call on Moltbook at 9.8 million, fully convicted on the narrative with an entire thesis, to an all-time high of 120 million. 12x on infinite size. You can put any amount of money into a coin like this. This is what happens when you're actually selective about your trades. When something finally interests you, you're able to have the conviction to fucking cook on it. To find great examples of bad narratives is literally by looking through every single column. You can see each coin is at 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and any of these coins that probably have some kind of volume whatsoever, they're probably bots. I'm not gonna lie. 0, 0, 0, 0. What kind of narrative can you craft from a coin like Baron coin, right? This follows no trend in crypto, in any kind of market whatsoever. Getting no volume. There's no one influential behind this. It deserves to go to 0, right? I can't picture myself crafting a story about that coin. And if I can't picture anything, I'm going to ignore it. There's 30,000 coins. There's over 30,000 coins actually being created on a single day in Solana. If you try to scrape and look for a narrative in every single one of them, you will burn yourself out. You will end up like the 99.6%. In fact, a lot of narrative analysis is you trying your best not to trade. I come into the market every single day with the mentality that I do not want to take a trade. I don't want to touch this. And you're going to see exactly how I expand on this on my next 2 steps of entry and sizing. But let's go in order, right? Narrative. Unless I see a narrative that I can actually understand and craft a story about that I feel will create some kind of mimetic value, I'm going to ignore it. I showed you at the start of the video. For January, well, my wallet was inactive for a lot of this too, but during the time I was active, I couldn't find a single coin that I genuinely liked. Here, I moved on, I moved on, I moved on. You see my point. There's really not much of a reason you should be touching any of this because most of them don't follow a leading trend or have any kind of originality that will present some kind of mimetic value. I only touch what I can somewhat understand, and I didn't touch it because I didn't understand it. So be it, right? There's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another coin. There's always going to be another opportunity. And the best thing I can do in that scenario, especially as a beginner, is let's say this coin is at, 50 million market cap right now. It's fucking bionic roast chicken. It's not, but just stick with me and pretend that it is. But let's say I see this hitting a $50 million market cap instantly. I'm going to open up the community. I'm going to see who's behind it. I'm going to see what I'm going to look for a reason on why it's pumping so hard. And I'm going to take that info with me moving forward. This is how narrative analysis is built. This is the only way you will get a profitable edge as a trader. Like I said, you cannot just throw on some fucking filters. You cannot just pick out a trading terminal that will do all the work for you. I'm sorry, it doesn't exist. I wish it did, but it just doesn't. So understanding trends and trying to pick out some originality. And a neat trick you can do as a beginner to check for an original narrative is, let's say you like this coin right here, derp, right? Derp. It's a popular meme. You see this everywhere. You think, okay, why is this not higher? You can type it in and you can see, oh wow, this narrative has actually been done a million times in the past. So unless there's something different about this, maybe there's a influencer with crazy pull right now pushing it, which doesn't seem to be the case, but I can have the assumption then that, okay, narrative isn't really original, it's played out, no, doesn't really deserve my attention. This coin right here, I made $20,000 on as well, VVM, which I did end up selling too early on, but during the time this coin launched, a leading trend in crypto at the moment was internet capital markets. If you don't know what that is, it's about startups being advertised and trying to gain capital from the blockchain, mainly trading fees on a coin around their product. And when a trend comes up like that, it will be extremely obvious to tell. Why? Because all you have to do is look at your screen and look for coins that are doing well at the moment. This coin here, Gastown, was what you call a trendsetter. It was one of the alpha coins. So once you have a trend established, you want to look for something original. Now, VVM, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but basically the narrative behind this was that the creator of Claude Code AI pretty much encouraged the founder that this coin is made to support to create this product, VVM, and through that little bit of information alone, I didn't even go too deep into it. You can see there's already some kind of story that you can create. Okay, this seems like a strong representation of the current trend right now, or it could possibly be a trendsetter or whatever, right? Mimetic value. But in the current meme coin market of 2026, I'm Mr. Narrative Guy, okay? Like I said, if you've watched my videos, you're gonna hear me talk about narrative over and over and over. You're gonna get tired of hearing me talk about narratives because it's that important. That is the one expression of skill that allows you to separate yourself from the 99.6%. It's not the only skill, but it's the leading one. Until it doesn't work anymore, I'm gonna keep talking about it. So that means as a beginner, the only way you can build that kind of foundation is by just spending time on your screen. You just saw me do it. If something picks up your eye, bionic roast chicken, oh boy, what could this be? Open up the community, you check, okay, what is this? What is this meme about? Is this meme popular? Okay, let me look on TikTok. Bionic roast chicken. How many views does this have? Okay, I just Google searched it. It's not on TikTok. Maybe it's not that popular. Maybe it's something that doesn't really deserve my attention. I don't really see how this could go further besides maybe an influencer, thinking that it's funny. But am I a mind reader? And do I have any sort of edge in that scenario? No, I don't. I don't really understand this narrative too well. I don't really see any future mimetic value in it. I'm not going to touch it. Let's move on to the next one. Puppy. Well, this coin has no volume whatsoever. It's fucking zero. But okay, how did it bond? I'm gonna open up the community. I'm gonna see, okay, hashtag puppy of TikTok. Now, some context. TikTok coins have been doing extremely fucking well lately. If you haven't heard about this yet, Penguin hit over $100 million market cap. The White House was talking about it. It was getting T1 exchange listings like Binance. We saw Mark Anderson shilling it. TikTok is fucking exploding. And this is, well, it was the pinnacle. Well, it still is. I mean, it's the highest TikTok coin right now, but this is the pinnacle of that trend. So when we look at a coin like Puppy, right? What kind of mimetic value can we grasp from this by using that trend as context? Let's try to break this narrative down, okay? Hashtag cat went to 3 mil from Dowman, a renowned meme coin scalper, I guess is how I put it. And yeah, I guess it has views on TikTok, 22.9 million posts. It's not bad. Crypto likes animals, Doge, Floki, everything underneath that, dog with hat. You can go down and down forever. Okay, so maybe this could catch some bids. But guess what? There's a million fucking animals out there getting viral on TikTok all the time. There's gonna be hashtag cat. There's gonna be hashtag kid. There's so many variations of this that have probably been done in the past. If hashtag puppy is getting a coin out of it, any better hashtag on an animal probably would have been done. So that's my personal discretion, my narrative analysis of this coin. On to the next one. What is getting volume at the moment? What is catching my eye? What current coins, not even having to do extensive research on them, which coins are going to get my attention ever so slightly to the point where I think, okay, maybe this could fit a really popular trend right now, or maybe it could even be a trendsetter. I don't know. But there needs to be some kind of story that I can grasp out of it. Now, the next step of my system, a little bit more technical. Really hope I didn't overwhelm you with all those examples on just the first step of my system. But the next piece of my 2026 system is going to be entry. I am incredibly anal about the entry price that I buy into at the moment, which is actually a little bit contradictory of some of my more general crypto trading guides. But to survive in the current meme coin market we're in right now, especially if you have a lower portfolio, is you need to be paying attention to your entry. Now, why is that? Because right now we are in a serial coin deployers market. There are so many people deploying coins out there at the moment that spawn with an automatic, with a 30, 20, 40%, what an egregious bundle, right? And if you don't know what a bundle is, it's basically a group of wallets from an insider that is trying to pick up a large amount of supply of a coin in a secretive way, right? They don't want anyone to know they have 40% of a coin. And deploying right now has gone to the point where it's extremely oversaturated. I can tell you firsthand right now, if you don't know how to trade, you're probably going to lose more money trying to deploy coins, or you're going to waste more time. Because of how rampant coin deployers have been for quite a while now, I automatically have the assumption that there is an egregious bundle on whatever coin I'm initially seeing on that initial run up. Now, the problem is, if you see a narrative you somewhat like, you think it kind of deserves your attention, piques your interest, maybe I should try buying in. Okay. And this is not me saying that I like this narrative. I'm just using this as an example. But let's say you see this coin. You like the narrative. You see it's getting a lot of volume. It instantly spikes up because you see all these influencers with copy traders that blindly tail them to generate volume and exit liquidity, whatever. Up, 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 up. And you're unable to be one of those first buyers. And you think, okay, maybe I should dip my toes in. I'll put in a little bit. I'm not really 100% convicted on this narrative yet, but I can see the potential. Boom. The deployer unleashes the bundle. Everyone who copy traders just fucking nukes on you. And suddenly, you're in deep shit. Now you're suddenly questioning, okay, maybe I had the wrong read on the market, right? It seems like my narrative analysis was off. And remember, in this scenario, this coin is not something I'm looking at and thinking, oh my God, I need a full port immediately. This is a God tier narrative, everything. And those kinds of narratives are not going to happen often. In fact, you're probably only going to get one of those free, easy, there's money on the floor, pick it up type narratives, maybe once every couple months if you're active and, online to catch it. That's not usually the case. You're going to see a coin with a narrative that you kind of like, you're not really 100% convicted on, but it's enough to pique your interest. It's enough for you to not bin it right away. But if something like this happens instantly, out of nowhere, the bundle nukes on you and you're suddenly down 70%. Oh boy. Now you have to decide whether, okay, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this was only getting attention because the bundle was trying to market make it up. And I should just cut here and, save what I can. Or get on your knees and start praying that it V reverses and you can maybe get break even and you're kind of vindicated on your narrative analysis. You think, okay, maybe this is the shakeout. This is where, it starts going even higher from here and boom. Whereas I know it sounds incredibly obvious, if you buy lower, you will be more comfortable on the way up. Now, in a market centered around memetics and just coins being in pretty much 24/7 price discovery up or down, there's never going to be some kind of formula or, some kind of math you can do to dictate a good retrace or catching the train early enough. And this is where the skill of narrative analysis comes perfectly in tandem. And now the automatic assumption that every coin is going to come out bundled comes in tandem. Now, this is where I can think to myself. An example, olive oil, not really the best example since this is a bit extreme with a 19K average entry, but you can see here, okay, I come in with the assumption that I see olive oil and I think to myself, okay, this is a meme I've been seeing a lot in the finance area of social media, olive oil, haha, it's outperforming fucking everything. Okay, maybe crypto heads, maybe people who are trading markets like this. But I know unless there's someone huge behind this, this is probably not the kind of narrative that's going to get picked up immediately, right? From my point of view, I think, yes, it's a popular meme. Yes, I believe it resonates extremely well with the crypto audience. And yes, it has the potential to form a very strong community around it, especially when a lot of popular accounts were talking about this meme, like the Coinbase Twitter account, if I can recall, which was later on actually. But yes, there's potential of a community forming, but there isn't really something extremely powerful off the get-go about this narrative that's really going to make me believe it is instantly going to rip through the bundle. It won't give a fuck about a 30% supply, just constantly suppressing price. It's going to eat that up and then shoot straight to the fucking stars. No, a coin like this that revolves around a community forming together to resonate about a certain meme that I think crypto Twitter will eventually like, won't have that initial push. So in the case that a community fails to form, especially because at this point, I was seeing a ton of other meme coins at the moment about all different kinds of commodities and memes. This is something that caught my eye, but not something that I instantly believed would blow up. So I come in with the assumption there's a fat bundle ready to fuck me the second I put my capital in on this up only chart, right? It's only the 30K, not really much in the grand scheme of things, but you take these over and over and over and over and over and over again. If you're unable to make up your losses with a runner, you're gonna die from a million cuts. And then you end up as a statistic, 99.6. So my thought process behind this is, okay, I know this isn't a coin that is gonna rip off immediately. I'm gonna wait for the bundle to exit, and then I want the coin to prove its narrative strength to me. What is it gonna do after the bundle exits? And what happened? It went to a 6K market cap. I can scratch the idea of this trade out of my head. And then suddenly, it picks up again. Instead, maybe buy a different team that is actually trying to form a community on this coin, not someone who just mass deployed using a bot with a 30% bundle ready to fuck me. Maybe this is a sign of life, of narrative strength. I wasn't buying when I had the initial assumption of a bundle and waiting to get fucked all the way down to 6K to just capitulate and just move on. Instead, I was patient and I had the luxury of an entry I was more comfortable with. And what happened when I have that kind of entry, I'm more comfortable playing it through. And the more and more that narrative grows, the community grows, I can sit however the fuck I want. Why? I have a good entry. This is a trade I'm extremely likely to lose on. Now, of course, building the foundation of identifying a good entry is going to be tough as a beginner, right? Everything is going to be tough as a beginner. And you're not going to be able to use the exact same playbook that I used for this coin right here on everything, right? There's always going to be a different situation. Maybe unlike VVM right here, I wasn't around for this initial run up after the founder that's centered around this coin started vocalizing his opinion on Twitter and he didn't really want to be associated with it. I said, nope, I'm not touching this shit. I'm not going to FOMO down on the dips. This is not an entry I'm comfortable buying. And instead of the olive oil example, where I have the assumption of every new coin being a bundle, this coin is more of an example of a narrative being invalidated. I go back, I think to myself, okay, you know what? I don't want to touch this shit. To help you understand this second concept even further, I can open up this chart. You can see initially there's a ton of people with copy traders coming in, going out, 50% bundle now, nuking the chart over and over and over, suppressing the price, not even as a low portfolio trader. As someone who is more lenient with their narrative analysis and wants to take more of a speculative stance on their trades, is this community coin, Lessons in Good Trouble, a global civil rights DLC in Minecraft, and is getting attention on Twitter. Maybe some kind of community is able to form around this, but I highly doubt past maybe like 30K at most, which are risking a complete insta nuke to zero with this 50% bundle for. This type of coin right here at this current price level is not something I'm going to touch if I want to be greedy with my entries. And context always matters for shit like this. This is a new community coin that I don't really see following any current trend at the moment. I don't really see any longevity in this current narrative from my current perspective. Is spawning with an instant 50% bundle. If I'm a lower port trader, I think this is, it has some kind of memetic value, it's picking up on Twitter. Even if I kind of like this narrative, I just don't see it having that initial strength to push through that 50% bundle as a new community coin. And as someone who's anal about their entries, even this 20K market cap, it really doesn't seem like much. 20K market cap, right? What could go wrong? I can have the thought process of, okay, maybe the bundle clipped out over here. I can scoop a little bit right there. But at this point, you're playing off price in a game where you automatically have a fucking sniper rifle to your head, a 50%, 30, 40, whatever, a massive bundle ready to fuck you like this. Right? You buy over here, you start thinking, okay, it's showing narrative strength. Maybe I should buy it. Boom. Eat this fucking nuke. Sure, if you have a higher portfolio, it's not going to hurt you as much until shit like this on narratives you somewhat believe in happen over and over and over and over and over and over, and you get fucked. That's how I round trip the first 100K I made in early 2024, bidding narratives that I somewhat believed in, and I started getting careless about my entry. I started eating shit like this over and over and over and over and over. 50K, zero, 50K, zero, 50K. And that stacks up fast because there are going to be 100 times more coins doing that kind of move than one single runner. It's always going to be like that. So if you're unable to regularly catch those runners, you are just going to eat cut after cut after cut after cut. How can you mitigate that? Through the first two steps that we've established so far. Thinking in trends and originality when it comes to stories, and being greedy as fuck with your entry. I should be researching this coin right now to see what it is, but drilling this into your head is so much more important for me. And yes, like I said, it is going to be dependent on context. This coin here is actually a perfect example of shit being dependent on context. Compared to a community coin that either needs, some hidden team behind it, or an influencer pushing it, or people that actually band together, time, whatever. This is a coin. Oh shit, the initial narrative, this guy followed by all these people, maybe he has some solid, 6-7 figure exits. Oh shit, maybe this is a coin that I'm not going to get entry on at all. So in this scenario, being greedy with your entry is going to be either being early enough to the point where you believe the narrative is still incredibly undervalued, or being greedy as shit with a retrace to the point where you're waiting and thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going to wait for max doom sentiment around this coin. I'm waiting for an almost 0% chance that it can revive, but still with a small chance of that reality of, let's say, this founder, blasting 100 bands into this coin. If I believe that is still up for the table, maybe it's consolidating around 50K, maybe it's mysteriously not going down, and the founder is still tweeting about it on Twitter. Okay, you know what? I think it's undervalued. I still believe in the narrative. It's time to fucking bid. That is what I mean by being greedy with your entry. Looking at the narrative that you have on hand, applying outside context, whether it's a community coin that just spawned with an instant 30% bundle, or maybe it's a utility meme coin with, someone doxed behind it, whatever, applying context to it, and either buying the extreme if the narrative still hasn't been fully invalidated yet, or buying at a point where you're simply much more comfortable. Okay, the bundle is out and still seems it's alive. That is how you end up in a position where you're able to minimize the drawdowns as much as possible, as best as you can, to the point where your winners massively outweigh your losers. If you think you can get cute and trade like these people, these influencers with copy traders who will tail their every single buy, every single sell, you think you can trade like that without an instant trampoline of exit liquidity to save you, to bail you out, you will eventually end up like this. You're stacking up these little 1.1, these 1.2 X's. The bundle fucking nukes you from out of nowhere. You're unable to see it coming. Even if it was a narrative you thought was decent, it doesn't matter, right? And now you just lost all that progress you were working for and more. Just wasted all your fucking time. And from my entire experience in crypto so far, that is the only way you are going to be able to win as a retail trader. If you think you can get cute with disregard your entries, be a little more lenient on narratives, you will end up with one of these scenarios sooner or later, and you will not have made enough profit to absorb that blow. Congratulations. Just wasted all your fucking time to end up like the 99.6%. Now, the third step of my system, the system, if mastered, where any beginner out there can make their first 100K trading meme coins, is sizing. You probably hear this all the time, right? Don't oversize, don't oversize. Well, it's true, right? It's pretty fucking true. And this is probably going to be the easiest step to understand from an objective point of view. Let's say you have a 10 Solana portfolio. If you end up in a situation like this, right? Once again, hypothetical here. Let's pretend this is a narrative you believe in, right? You think, okay, you know what? Maybe this is the extent of the bundle. Maybe it's going to draw down a little bit further. I'm going to take a bid here, right? I'm going to put a SOL, right? 10% of my portfolio. If I take this loss, that's 10% of my portfolio fucking gone. So how am I feeling like if this shit happens, right? If I believe in this narrative, I think, this is the extent of the drawdown. What happens then at this bottom? It would shatter your heart. Thought of 10% of your portfolio vanishing like that in an instant has now entered your head, and you are on your fucking toes to cut. You go, no fucking way. I'm risking a 10% haircut on my entire portfolio. I know this coin's going to fucking zero, but let's say it just completely V reverses here. Well, shit. Now you're thinking to yourself, fuck, I could have doubled my portfolio if I held. You are in it. But what is actually going to happen in that scenario? Your portfolio is up double, right? Over here. Now you're thinking, okay, you know what? This could really change my portfolio. I'm going to have so much more capital to trade with. You know what? I think I'm just going to cut a majority of my trade, right? Whatever I don't feel comfortable losing. Well, now you have pretty much the same exact size left in the trade as you would if you just bid smaller, except now you don't have that crippling anxiety of wondering whether if the trade doesn't work out. You have a much more objective view on things. And if you are able to lock out in higher size, you triple your portfolio with a single trade. Trust me, I have been there so many times at the beginning. You are going to keep sizing up. You're going to make oversized trades over and over and over again. Not even sizing up every time necessarily. You're just going to be risking a large chunk of your portfolio every single time you take a trade. And then one day, it's not going to work out. You're going to eat something like this. It's going to clean you out. You're going to take a big loss. And then you think to yourself, you know what? I need to make that back. That was a large part of my fucking portfolio. This narrative right here, I'm not 100% convicted on it, but I think at this level, there's a decent chance I can recover what I just lost. And especially if you're playing with a higher port, where almost every single coin, if you're trading new pairs, is extremely low liquidity, you're eating all that price impact. Now you're thinking to yourself, if you are negative on that trade, you are fucked mentally because you already know what that portfolio drawdown feels like. You don't want to feel it again. You're antsy to cut or not let the trade play out, whatever. You are not going to be able to look at things objectively. And one thing I've learned is that size always equals out. You will make the same amount of profit you would if you had put less size into a coin, but risked less. I put $500 into this coin. Now, if you showed me that in person in cash, okay, you know what? I could buy, a fancy dinner at a restaurant. And this is not to, brag, say, oh, wow, look at me, $500 is so little. Respective to my portfolio size, respective to how much I'm trading with. I could lose $500 right now, and this could have gone to zero immediately. My mental, my portfolio, my trading intuition would not have been affected whatsoever. And when you piece everything together, a narrative that I believe will pick up traction, getting greedy with the entry and waiting for the bundle to play out. This $500 that I put in that I have no regard for whatsoever, respective to my portfolio, gets me enough supply to the point where I can hold, and it actually does make an impact. $20,000 trade from $500, all because I followed my 3-step system: narrative, entry, and sizing. As long as I abide by those 3 principles on this profile, right? Started trading not even half a month ago. I could start trading on it again. I could have a red day. I could have another red day. It doesn't matter because I know that as long as I follow my system, even if my win rate is negative, I have the utmost confidence that my winners will always outweigh whatever I lost. And with the current market conditions in mind, that is exactly how I will continue to scale in 2026. And that's really it. Not rocket science in any way, right? Your job right now is to approach the market in those 3 steps. You're probably not going to see anything instantly. You're going to deal with losses along the way. But as long as you are making an active effort, I think it's pretty indisputable that my results are proof that anyone has a chance to win through my system. And that's what it is, a system, right? There's never going to be a magic indicator or a trading bot that's going to give you that. And if the market later ends up favoring a different approach, well, then so be it, right? I'll be able to adapt because my fundamentals are there. Now, if you want the best way to train this system and a chance at making the same plays that me and my team are making in real time, I've reopened the Fortune Inner Circle, what I've made the only mentorship experience in crypto, at the top link in the description down below. You can honestly watch every single one of my videos, any video out there, right? But there's never going to be a better teacher than experience. So what better way is there to gain it than getting personal guidance and trading with some of the most skilled traders in this market? We've caught almost every single liquid runner in the past few years, like more recently our 17x on Ralph. But more importantly, people like me and Shams, another member who's made consistent 6-figure P&Ls, will be helping you master the system you've been building along the way. So go ahead and apply if you want to work with some of the best in the space. Anyways though, I hope you got some value out of watching me yap about my recent trades and the current market. So see you in the next one.